This is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 194, and today I'm going to be breaking down 2025 for me in review. So if you haven't listened to this podcast, my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I'm using the podcast to document my journey in real estate and business, and also bringing on high-level investors to share their stories and how they built their businesses. You can follow my journey on Instagram and TikTok at chris.rickenbaugh. That's Chris.REICHENBACH. And if you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much. Leave us a like, rating, and review wherever you're listening to be able to help us help more people and spread the stories, because if you're listening to these high-level investors, they're giving their tools and tips and tricks on what they did and what they're learning. So that can help anybody who's listening. So let's hop into today's content. So today, I wanted to break down what all happened for us in 2025. It was a really tough year for us, and we went through so many learning lessons and very expensive learning lessons. And I just kind of wanted to, and this is what this podcast is for, it's to document everything that I'm doing to show that I'm learning and progressing. And we definitely did that this year and learned so much in our first year and a half in real estate. And because I bought my first property May or June 2024. So that was, I'd say when I really started getting in. So I've really only been in this business for a year and a half. And year one was about making all the mistakes. Year two is about cleaning up all of those mistakes and really just learning. So being able to document that on the podcast and learn from the other people who have been through what I've been through, it's super insightful, and being able to just think bigger as well. So quarter one, we were pretty much, we had a couple houses being renovated, and I purchased 3 houses within that time. One was with a partner that was going to be doing all the managing on that project, being able to take care of it and eventually keep it as their own. And that turned into a disaster, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. And then I bought 2 on my own with that partner's ideas and their numbers, because what they tell you in real estate is when you get into the game, you want to find somebody who's doing it and doing it at a high level. That's what I thought this person was doing until right around, this March to April area, and I started reading Profit First. And that's where everything really shifted for me this year, right around that 1 year mark of being in the game. And I started to understand the numbers way better. And I started to look back at these projects and go, oh my gosh, these are so far off from where we really need to be. And that's when I started asking the deeper questions and reading another book and saying that, you become the 5 people you hang around. And I started looking at that person way deeper. And I go, oh my gosh, because I was doing the exact same things that they were doing, and I was heading directly for where they were, which was not in a really good place. So right around that April to May area, I put a hold on everything, put a hold on buying, looking at properties, anything. The only exception to that was around in June, I got sent a property, and it was gonna be a quick renovation, and it turned out that the numbers were actually really good. I had a wholesaler call me out of the blue and say, "Hey man, I have this deal. Haven't sent it out to anybody. Nobody's looked at it. Do you want to take it?" I'm like, all right, let me look at it. Ran the numbers, got contractors in there, and it looked great. So we did end up buying one in June, but other than that, I shut down everything. After that, I said, I don't want to look at properties. I'm not walking properties, nothing, because I just wanted to be able to figure out the situation and the properties that we had. Because at that time, in that quarter one to quarter two, I had 7 projects going. 2 were with that partner, and which turned into disasters. We were able to exit one and get some money back, because what happened was we got to the closing table. I signed my documents and they realized, actually, we want to keep it instead. So that turned into a big thing where we had to get attorneys involved, and we were able to get a little bit of the money back. But, that one was a disaster from the beginning because I let that partner, that partnership was to really figure out if we could work together, because they were the one with the experience in doing this at a high level. And I said, all right, we can partner on this one. We found the money, and throughout the project, it was just a disaster from beginning to end. And then with them coming to us right at the end and saying, hey, actually, we're going to keep it. You should just sign it over to us. And I said, nope, that is not going to work. So once we got the attorneys involved, we were able to get back half the money that we put into the property, or on my side. And then they still haven't even refinanced the property. So that one's still being held by the bank, and they don't even technically own it. So crazy story there. And then with the other one, they were going to be handling the project and actually basically just took the money and ran, and haven't done anything to that project. We ended up being able to sell that one over, and not sure exactly what's happening on that project now, but we were able to exit on that project. But that person basically just took the money and ran, and $60,000 just gone. So huge learning lesson there. And basically the big learning lesson that I've taken through this time is to get everything in writing. Talking to the attorneys, they're like, you need to have this stuff in writing based on your conversations, because first, it puts you on the same page. So it's not like, hey, I'm trying to eventually get you. It's just being on the same page and being able to recap those conversations to say, hey, you did say this. This is the plan. This is what happened. You didn't perform to this. Now what? So that was a huge learning lesson throughout the year. And then being able to, and aside from that, going through the rest of the year and just figuring out how to offload these properties. So those were 2 properties that I was talking about. We ended up getting 5 of the 7 sold, and we started renovating the last 2. Had to fire a contractor in the middle that was working on 2 of the properties. So we had put probably half the money into the renovations already. They weren't doing the work, and not doing great work, because one of the other things that we figured out was on the two other flips that I did sell, we were getting tons of feedback, and it was the same feedback. Hey, the quality of the work just isn't that great, and we had to sell way under what we thought what we were going to get for it. And the reason for that is, or kind of what was going on at that time, we were getting lots of walkthroughs. So we knew the price was accurate. So kind of what the agents were telling me at that time is, if you're getting lots of walkthroughs but no offers, there's something wrong with the house. But if you're getting no offers and no walkthroughs, then there's something wrong with the price. And so we're getting tons of walkthroughs on both properties but no offers. And the thing that kept coming back up was quality. And even the agents were telling me, like, hey, you should probably fire this guy. So we took a little bit of a deeper look. I looked at my other projects that they were doing. Houses were tons of trash in them. Nothing was organized. And so I said, all right, we finally have to cut ties with this contractor and get a new guy in here. And that's what we did. So things were going really, really well for a little bit with the new contractor, but now starting to have a little bit of some issues, running to some inspection problems and permitting, and we're handling that now going into 2026. So I'm back to the story here. So we did end up selling 5 out of 7 of those properties, going through the partnership problems. Currently, I do have 3. I ended up buying a new flip in November that we're actually waiting on permit issues. And so one of the big wins that I had over this year was that we bought a new personal house, subject to, we found somebody in our deal flow group, and he said, hey, I was talking about what I was doing and learning a lot about subject to, and he said, hey, I actually have a house over near where you did a flip that I'm looking at selling that way. And I said, okay, let me walk it. Let me see if my wife likes it. And we ended up doing it. We could put a little bit of work into it ourselves, and it we were able to buy it for just closing costs, which was a huge win for us. And so we ended up moving into that house. And what we did with our other little house that we were living in, I bought that 2 or over 3 years ago now to be a furnished rental. And so we were finally able to do that. And, as soon as we listed it, within about a week or two, we had that thing booked out for about 60 days and learning the process on Airbnb. So that's been pretty big win. It's been slow in the winter, but we kind of knew that was coming. So just kind of feeling it out and what's kind of going on with that house. But yeah, it's been a really good Airbnb for us. It's just kind of paying the bills. It's not going to make us any money, just kind of paying down what we owe on it. So, two big wins there was to be able to get out of that house, get into something a little bit bigger, and then get that thing furnished. So moving into the end of this year. So it's really been kind of figuring out the problems, really being able to slow down and figure out where we're going. And one of the podcasts that really helped me do that was interviewing Gideon Spencer. So if you didn't listen to that episode, highly recommend it, because that one kind of flipped my whole mindset on what I was really looking at, because his whole thing is it's harder to make $100,000 than it is to go make $1 million. It might take you a little bit longer to get the plan and go towards $1 million, but what is done in that process is you're able to buy one thing that's going to be able to make you way more income and achieve your goals rather than just trying to find these little chunks. So in real estate, that $1 million is looking at a larger asset like a boutique hotel, like a business, and the $100,000 is what we're grinding so hard for in real estate, is these flips and these wholesale deals where it's just deal to deal to deal, and you're always chasing that next little chunk of money. So that really flipped my thinking, and we have an LOI accepted on a business that we're looking to purchase in Q1 of 2026. I've been holding off on talking about that or any of the details till we get a little bit closer and officially have the contract in our hands, and then I'll be able to go through all those details because I'm super pumped and excited about it. We're in the money raising stage right now, and that's going to be a huge game changer for us. So in due diligence right now on a business that I'll be able to talk about at a later time, but we're also shifting to wholesaling rather than flipping. I don't want to be able to buy another property and try and flip it unless it's just a home run deal. But until we have all of the houses that we have right now, so we have 3 currently, until we have exited those properties, I don't want to purchase another property to be able to flip. We just need to be able to stop the bleeding that we have going on right now with those projects and be able to exit, and then we can officially kind of reset and move on while we're operating that business. So super exciting coming up for 2026. And on this next episode on 195, I'm going to be able to break down what our 2026 goals are, because that's something that we're really shifting into this year. I've set these probably about a month and a half ago, and it's really based on our 3-year vivid vision that we've put together. And figuring out, it's like, okay, what's the steps this year that we need to take to be able to make that come true? And that's what I'm going to be breaking down on the next episode. But for this one, I just wanted to break down kind of how our 2025 year in review was. It was a really difficult year for us, but tons and tons of learning that we went through. And, it's only going to be making us better investors. So being able to survive through this time, being able to learn rather than be a victim to the circumstances, that's what's going to be able to push us down the line as investors and, really be able to set the stage for where we want to go. So super exciting on that side, super tough year for us, tons of learning, but I'll be able to break down our 2026 goals on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening this year and continuing to listen to the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast as we bring on bigger guests, better interviews, and watching, just being able to document my story as I progress through business and real estate. So thank you so much for listening this year on December 31st of 2025. We'll see you in the next year.